NFL fans, welcome back to a brand new episode of the J All Day NFL Show. In today's episode, we're going to give you a full slate of predictions, all 16 games with scores. We are less than 3 weeks away until kickoff with the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, kicking off the 2025 season on September 4th. Guys, listen, we went on an absolute heater last year. The last 9 weeks, 110 wins, only 39 losses, 185 and 87 on the regular season with all of our straight up picks. We are the best in the business. And if you like sports betting, check out my memberships. We had an 85% return on investments and we made picks all 18 weeks, only deposited once, guys. You gotta get the memberships. All right, guys, let's get into this full slate, all 16 games with scores. Let's get into it. All right, all my NFL fans, before we get started, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we have some even more exciting news. This video today is being sponsored by Splash Sports, where they are sponsoring a J All Day Survivor contest where you guys can be in the running to win $20,000 if we fill up every single one of the 1,000 possible entries. If you take a look at your screen right here, here's the website, man. Splash Sports is really, really cool. They got all kinds of stuff. They got survivor pools. They got whatever you need. They got tiers. If we go to the lobby right now, they are running games on the NFL, Major League Baseball. We can go to the quick picks and you can do higher and lower with all different kinds of baseball stuff right now. And then during the NFL season, they'll obviously have the NFL stuff, which is it's so cool, man. Total bases, hits, singles, runs, RBIs. And with the NFL, they're going to have a slew of different ways for you to get into the game, right? Where can you guys play? With their tier list, their one and done, the quick picks, the survivor. The survivor pool is the important one, right? That's where we are at. But my dad just signed up in Pennsylvania, so I think it is available there now. So all the blue right now is available in your state to play in the J All Day sponsored Survivor contest. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description down below. And if you use my promo code, if you put in more than $10, you will get $10 back in free play on their website. All right, let's get into the video. With less than 3 weeks until the regular season, it's picks with scores time. We're kicking it off. Dallas Cowboys traveling on the road to take on my Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Dallas Cowboys have an uphill battle on their hands. They got a new head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, new offensive coordinator, Clayton Adams. Matt Eberflus is there to coach the defense, coming over from the Bears after being fired, right? The Eagles won both of their matchups last year, but that you got to throw that out. There was no Dak Prescott in those games at all whatsoever. But the Philadelphia Eagles did lose a lot on defense, man. There's no other way around it. Josh Sweat's gone. Milton Williams gone. Darius Slay is gone as well. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is gone. Whew, man, a laundry list of guys gone on this defense. Pretty much the whole offense, minus Mekhi Becton for the Philadelphia Eagles, is coming back. For the Dallas Cowboys, they bring in George Pickens, the wide receiver from the Steelers, to be a nice complement for CeeDee Lamb. They did, however, lose Zach Martin and Tyler Guyton, their first-round pick last year, who definitely struggled a lot, is dealing with a knee injury. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for week one. They're also still dealing with a lot of injuries in the secondary. We'll have to see who's going to be healthy, who's not going to be healthy for week one. I think this game's going to come down to the trenches, and the Philadelphia Eagles front seven matches up really good against this Cowboys offensive line. And then on the flip side, this Eagles offensive line should dominate this Cowboys front seven. One of the worst rush defenses in the entire NFL. They gave up 4.8 yards per carry last year. That's third worst in the NFL. They also gave up 25 touchdowns. That was last in the NFL. So I think Saquon Barkley and this offensive line have a big day. We could even see Will Shipley get involved in this offense. I just don't see how the Cowboys can match up with this Philadelphia Eagles team and win on the road in week one. I'm going 27-17. I think the Eagles want to slow the pace of this game down, run the ball effectively, and I think the Cowboys maybe get a garbage time touchdown to make it seem a little bit closer box score wise than the actual game was. So Philadelphia Eagles win in week one, 27-17. Next up, we got another really fun matchup. the Chargers taking on the Chiefs. There is no home field advantage in this game. This game will take place in Brazil. I originally had the Chargers winning this game, but man, Rashawn Slater being hurt is a huge, huge loss for the Chargers. They're going to have to kick Joe Alt from right tackle over to left tackle. It's just not the same offense without Rashawn Slater, who signed a 4-year, I think it was $113 million deal. He's becoming one of the better left tackles in the entire NFL. That's a huge loss for the Chargers. But I do love what the Chargers did in the draft, bringing in Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris. Really, really good job in the draft. I do like the Chiefs bringing in Simmons, the offensive tackle. We'll see if he gets the start in week 1. And it looks like the Rashee Rice suspension is not going to come till later in the year. There's a court date set for the end of September, early October, somewhere in that range. So he's going to play. Jordan Addison for the Vikings got suspended. We thought Rashee Rice could potentially get suspended, but he's not. So they'll have Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Pacheco. The whole band is back together. And I definitely think that this Chiefs team will win a close game there in Brazil. I'm going to go 26-20 without Rashawn Slater. You know, this defense is middle of the road defense for me, this Chargers defense. But Harbaugh's a great coach. I think this game is going to be close. That's why I'm going to go 26-20. The Chiefs get it done with Andy Reid and Spagnuolo having the time to game plan for week 1 and the Chargers being without Rashawn Slater. I had to switch my pick. I'm going with the Chiefs and that slew of really talented coaches, solid veteran players to get it done. The Chiefs, however, that offensive line is a big question mark without Joe Thuney. Can the Chargers get a pass rush versus Patrick Mahomes and kind of take that blueprint that the Eagles established in the Super Bowl to slow down Mahomes and Kelce? I doubt it. I'm going with the Chiefs to get it done 26-20. Next up, we got another really fun game. We got the Raiders on the road traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. 2 new head coaches for these teams. Mike Vrabel for the New England Patriots. We got Pete Carroll for the Raiders. Chip Kelly is calling the offensive plays for Pete Carroll and the Raiders. That should be really interesting as well. The New England Patriots did a lot in free agency. They brought in Diggs to be the wide receiver 1 there. Drafted Will Campbell, Trevion Henderson, who looked really, really good. They also drafted in the 3rd round Kyle Williams, right? They also brought in Mac Hollins to be an outside kind of deep threat for this team. What really concerns me about the Patriots is still this offensive line. They did bring in Morgan Moses as well, but for the most part, this is a young, inexperienced unit. And even Morgan Moses didn't look great last year with the Jets. Is that an anomaly because he was with the Jets? We will have to wait and see. The Patriots were 2-6 at home. The Raiders were 2-7 on the road. Kind of a wash there, in my opinion. So who ultimately wins this game, right? I've been going back and forth on this game. Christian Wilkins also got released for the Raiders, and that's a huge loss. Can Malcolm Kuntz come back from the injury? He didn't play at all in 2024. He's going to have to be really involved with Max Crosby to get a pass rush versus Drake May. I've been going back and forth on this game. The Raiders with Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers and Geno Smith. I think the veteran leadership for the Raiders has them win a very close game. I'm going to go 23-17. The Raiders get it done. I think Chip Kelly's going to be very innovative in this offense with all these weapons. They got Jacoby Myers. They got Brock Bowers, who's one of the best, if not the best, tight ends in the game right now. And Ashton Genty. They should be able to scheme up some stuff against a very, very good New England Patriots defense. They're probably going to be a top 5 unit this year, but I expect them to be on the field a lot in this game and then for the Raiders to take over in the second half of this game. That's where I'm going with the Raiders to get a big W here on the road. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers on the road taking on the Jets, right? I like what the Jets did in the draft, bringing in Armand Membu and Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU. Armand Membu is going to play right tackle opposite of Olu Fashanu, the team's first-round pick of last year. Steelers bring in Derek Harmon. I like that pick. Running back Caleb Johnson. A lot of new moving parts for both of these teams. Justin Fields is the new quarterback for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is the new quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin has been very dominant versus first-year head coaches over his career. It's like an 80% winning percentage over his career. Very, very impressive stuff. They know Justin Fields very well. And you got to remember, the Steelers still have one of the best front sevens in the entire NFL. Those book and pass rushers with Highsmith and Watt are dominant against two very young, inexperienced tackles. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win in dominant fashion. I'm going 24-10. The Pittsburgh Steelers get it done. I just don't think the Jets match up particularly well versus the Steelers. Justin Fields has been, even in camp, he looks extremely inaccurate with the football. That's why I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's just so many factors leaning me towards Pittsburgh. I think they're a great bet. I think they cover the spread. I think they win this game pretty easily. 24-10. Aaron Rodgers gets it done in his debut with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, we move on to the Miami Dolphins and the Indianapolis Colts. And this is going to be a sloppy game between two 8-9 teams from last year. The Dolphins bring in Kenneth Grant, in round one. The Colts bring in Tyler Warren, a pick I really, really like in the first round. The main thing is, who's going to be the quarterback for the Colts, guys? Is it going to be Anthony Richardson, who's been dealing with some injuries? Is it going to be Daniel Jones? They both don't look great. It's kind of like, what pile of shit stinks less? In my opinion, I don't know who wins this game. It's going to be a really, really close one. From a betting perspective, I would avoid this game like the plague. The Dolphins, however, their offensive line is young and inexperienced, and with Tua, that's not great. They still have great skill position players at the running back spot and the wide receiver room with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and the running back room there is still pretty solid. But for me, the Dolphins secondary is extremely bad. Like, probably the worst secondary in the NFL. They lose Jalen Ramsey. Javon Holland moves on to the Giants, right? It's just an absolute shit show. Artie Burns tore his ACL. The cornerback, he's gone. Kader Kohu, another cornerback, he's out for the season. It's just the injuries already piling up. The Colts win a close game here at home, 24-23. I think Anthony Richardson probably gets the start. Hopefully they're going to run the ball a lot with Jonathan Taylor. Get it done here with the Colts, 24-23. Now, let's move on to Arizona taking on the Saints. So Dennis Allen is out as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. They bring in Kellen Moore, coming over from the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, the former offensive coordinator there, right? So Arizona did a great job drafting, bringing in Walter Nolan, Will Johnson. They brought in Josh Sweat through free agency. Jonathan Gannon, the former defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles from a few years back, he really wants to kind of establish an identity with this defense, a defensive-minded guy. You know, the offense is pretty good with Trey McBride and James Conner. They got a good running back room there. I think Trey Benson is there as well. You know, with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, a solid offensive line that's growing year after year in Arizona. I think they win this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. New Orleans, Tyler Shook or Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler has been outperforming him so far in camp. Who's going to be the quarterback? We probably won't know until a week before the game starts. Either way, I'm going with Arizona to cook in this spot. Remember, New Orleans lost Derek Carr to retirement, guys. He is out of that franchise, right? So I think Arizona, they're more of an established team with the coaching staff, with the players there. Fundamentally, I just think they're a better football team. I think New Orleans is going to struggle to win 5 or so games this year. I'm going with Arizona 17-10 in a pretty low-scoring game. I expect Arizona to establish the run game and kind of just control the clock. Now, let's move on to a fun division matchup. New York Giants, Washington Commanders, right? Both of these games that they played last year between these two teams were decided by less than 5 points. The Commanders were really good at home, though, 7-2. On the opposite of that, the Giants were 2-6 on the road. And they lost, 11 out of their last 12. Not looking good. But they bring in Russell Wilson to kind of stabilize this offense a little bit. I do love what's going on the defensive side of the ball for the Giants. Abdul Carter, freaking Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau. I mean, they're going to have a great rotation there of guys. They also drafted Darius Alexander, Cam Scatterbo, Jackson Dart. Pretty solid draft overall for the Giants, who were 3-14 last year. This is a shit or get off the pot type of situation for the Giants, right? I do think this game is going to be exceptionally close. I'm going to go 26-24. The Commanders get it done barely. But if the Giants won this game, guys, I would not be surprised at all. If that front seven can be as dominant as I think they're going to be this year early on, kind of with this Commanders so-so offensive line. They did bring in Laramie Tunsil from the Texans, right? So he was kind of a locker room bugaboo over there with the Texans, so they shipped him off to the Commanders. They also drafted Trey Amos and Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon, the offensive tackle, a pick I really, really like there for them. They got great value later in the draft. It's going to be a really close game, guys. Betting-wise, I like to stay away from division games. Games that were really, really close last year. 21-18 and 27-22 in the games last season, right, guys? And we'll have to see if Cam Scatterbo's healthy, but I think he's going to be a dog. Abdul Carter and that front seven already look crazy good. But the Giants' offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas are just not very good, in my opinion. I think the Commanders should win this game. It's going to be close. But remember, the Commanders' secondary is not that great either. So Malik Neighbors could have a monster day with Russell Wilson throwing that deep ball. But for now, I'm going with the Commanders. Carolina versus Jacksonville. I've been going back and forth on this game all offseason. But I do think Jacksonville can open things up offensively with Travis Hunter on those intermediate and shallow routes, right? Open up things down the field for Brian Thomas Jr. They did lose Evan Ingram. That's going to be a huge loss for Trevor Lawrence, who really relied on Evan Ingram, especially on third down, right? So, Carolina, I think the offense is in a really good place right now. They drafted Ted McMillan. They have a solid offensive line. Adam Thielen still there, Xavier Legette, Hunter Renfrow. Chuba Hubbard can run the ball really well there, but man, that defense for Carolina is awful. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Jacksonville steals it, 28-27. That Carolina defense, I don't think the pass rush is good enough. The secondary is not good enough. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble slowing down Travis Hunter and our boy Brian Thomas Jr., who's big, strong, physical, got 4.3, 4.4 speed. No one on Carolina's defense can handle that at all. They got to go on the road, even though it's not far down the road to Jacksonville. But I like the Jaguars. I've been going back and forth on this game. We'll have to see how the injuries kind of line up as we get closer to week one. We still have about 2.5 weeks until kickoff, guys. Going with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 28-27. Next up, another division game, Cincinnati Bengals on the road taking on the Cleveland Browns. They got the Shamar Stewart deal done. He looks pretty physical and dominant so far in camp, but Trey Hendrickson still not signed. That's a huge, huge loss if he doesn't play in week one versus the Browns. But the Browns offense is a shit show. Kenny Pickett's hurt. Dylan Gabriel's dealt with injuries. Now Shador Sanders is hurt. It's old man Flacco and a bunch of bums. There's nobody on this offense that I'm really scared about, right? That's going to just take over a game and win this game. Luckily, it's a good matchup for Cincinnati, who has historically played horrendous the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. The last, 5 years? They've been historically bad, like crazy bad. So, who do I ultimately think wins this game? The games were close-ish last year, 21-14 and 24-6, right? I think it's going to be kind of similar in that range. But I do think that the Bengals are going to be more prepared this year. They already have the starters playing early on in the preseason. Right, I'm going to go 27-13 for a win here for the Bengals. This offense is going to be a lot to deal with. I expect them to get out to a big lead early and then kind of switch to the run game, control the clock, and then just kind of run things out time-wise on the Cleveland Browns, who I think they're really going to struggle to muster any offense at all this entire season, right? They did bring in Judkins, who just got acquitted from that domestic violence charges, so he's not going to be charged, so that's good. But Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, I think Dylan Gabriel is going to start today versus the Eagles, so we'll have to see how he looks in that game moving forward. Maybe he's going to be the starter week one. Nobody knows. Too many moving parts for me. That's why I like the Bengals to get a big W there on the road. Next up, one of my favorite games of the week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons, guys. Wow. Emeka Egbuka has looked so good. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get him at that spot is extremely, extremely impressive, right? I don't know if Chris Godwin's going to be ready for week 1, and Tristan Wirfs, the starting left tackle, definitely will not be ready, dealing with some injuries there. Could that open up opportunities for the Atlanta Falcons to get that pass rush brewing, bringing in Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr.? James Pierce Jr., from all these reports, has looked pretty damn good, looked athletic and physical, and can play at the NFL level, doing really, really good so far in camp. I think this is going to be a very, very close game. I'm going 30-26 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think between Emeka Egbuka, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, it's still just going to be a little bit too much for this young Atlanta team. Michael Penix Jr. is getting his first week 1 start. That's really exciting for him. I mean, this offense has all the weapons you could possibly want with Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Darnell Mooney. I mean, this team could be a surprise in the NFC this year if they can kind of get after the quarterback a little bit, something they really struggled to do last year. I think they only had like 25 sacks all year long. If you don't get pressure on Baker Mayfield, he's going to carve you up. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this game. What did I say? 30-26. I think that's a good score. I think the Buccaneers offense is going to be really, really good. We have to keep an eye on this secondary that was a little suspect last year. But they did bring in Ben Morrison, a guy I freaking love. Also, they brought in Jacob Parrish, kind of revamped this secondary for Todd Bowles' defense there in Tampa Bay. Buccaneers, get it done. Next up, Tennessee Titans on the road taking on the Denver Broncos. I'm going 28-10 Denver Broncos. Tennessee Titans didn't get, any favors in this matchup. You got to go on the road, being the worst team in the NFL last year, taking on the Denver Broncos, top 5 offensive line, top 3 defense. I think Bo Nix is ascending as a quarterback in this league. In his second year under Sean Payton is going to be even better. They were 10-7 last year. I think they're a 12-win football team, and I think they win the AFC West. They also brought in Jody Barron, R.J. Harvey, Pat Bryant, Savion Jones, Quay Robinson. A great draft for the Denver Broncos. I like what Cam Ward's doing, man. He's holding people accountable. He's a no-bullshit kind of guy. I think he's going to be successful in this league. It's just going to take some time because this Tennessee Titans roster, guys, is still a dumpster fire, right? But I like what Cam Ward's doing, and I think he's going to be just fine. Remember, Will Levis is done for the year with that crazy shoulder injury he had. Titans were 2-7 on the road last year. Can Brian Callahan get this team in the right direction? For me, if the Titans can win over 5 games, that would be an improvement and a move in the right direction for this franchise. I think Denver can be a sneaky team that could be competing for an AFC championship if all these pieces kind of come together. I love what's happening in Denver. One of my favorite teams to watch, even though this looks like a Denver jersey. This is the Bobby Boucher, guys. The Mud Dogs. The Mud Dogs. But listen, the Denver Broncos are going to be really, really good. I think they win the division. I think the Chiefs regress a little bit this year. Luckily for the Chiefs, the Chargers lost Rashawn Slater early, so I think the Chiefs have an uphill battle to win that AFC West. Denver Broncos blow out the Titans in week 1. So I forget what I said. I think it was like 28-10, 27-10, something in that range, whatever I said. Denver gets it done no matter what. That's a great survivor pick. If you want to get into my survivor pool, check out the description down below. There's a link. Use my promo code and see if you can beat Jay all day in the survivor pool. I'm in it. My dad's in it. Can you beat us? Let's see if you can. San Francisco at Seattle. It looks like Christian McCaffrey looks pretty damn healthy, man. He's looked great so far in camp. Good stuff. Brandon Ayuk is still hurt. They're dealing with a lot of injuries in the wide receiver department for San Francisco, but I expect them to really want to establish the run in this game. I think Christian McCaffrey balls out fantasy-wise, guys. Seattle's offensive line, even though they drafted Gray Zabel, still sucks. The defense is really good. It's going to keep them in games. But I think they're going to be on the field a lot, and in the second half, San Francisco really opens up a can of whoop-ass on Seattle. Probably maybe even come from behind to get a victory here. I'm going San Francisco 26-23. Guys, sorry if you hear some beeping. There's a giant dump truck right outside our window. But it is what it is. I like the draft for Seattle, though. Gray Zabel, Nick Emanwari, Elijah Arroyo, the tight end from Miami, Jalen Milroe. Excellent draft. It's going to take some time for those picks to kind of get established in this offense a little bit. I think Sam Darnold behind a not-so-good offensive line is not a good recipe for success. That's why I'm going with the 49ers to get it done. Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers. One of the most exciting games of the week. I'm going with the Packers to win this game. The Detroit Lions lose two key positions on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow, the center, and Kevin Zeitler, the guard. Both gone out of the middle of a very, very good, well-established offensive line. They also have a new offensive coordinator in John Morton. And then Kelvin Shepard's coming in to coach the defense, right? Aaron Glenn goes to the Jets. Ben Johnson goes to the Bears. I think it's going to be a little bit of growing pains, for this 15-2 team that was last year's unit for the Detroit Lions. Green Bay Packers are a team on the ascension. Matt LaFleur, one of the better coaches in the NFL. They did add Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs, the guard and the cornerback. Matthew Golden in the draft. I think he's going to be a true number one wide receiver. I think it's going to be a close game, 27-20. The Packers get it done. Houston versus the Rams. I originally thought the Rams could potentially blow out the Texans, but the more these injury reports come out on Matt Stafford, he had to get a freaking epidural in his back, guys. That's not great. He's not practicing, not getting on the same page with new addition Davante Adams. But, man, Puka Nacua and Davante Adams are going to be a lot to deal with, right? So, who do I ultimately think wins? I'm still going with the Rams. I'm going 24-17. They get a W over the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud and the Texans, this offensive line, tons of injuries, tons of inexperience. The Rams and Jarrett Verse got a really good front seven. They're going to get after CJ Stroud. I think Houston's defense, that is really good, is going to be on the field a lot in this game and get really tired in the second half. So when you have a young offensive line dealing with injuries on the road, it's not a recipe for success. That's why I like the Rams. 24-17, they get it done. And we got two ballin' games to wrap up my week one picks with scores. Baltimore versus Buffalo. I'm going with the Ravens. What a draft. Malachi Starks, Emory Jones, Mike Green, Teddy Buchanan. Woo! Baby. They also bring in DeAndre Hopkins in free agency. This defense is going to be elite, guys, for the Ravens. The offense is still going to be very, very, very good with Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. 24-28. The Ravens get it done. Bills go really heavy on defense in the draft. Maxwell Harrison, TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, Deion Walker, Jordan Hancock, man, Dorian Strong, cornerbacks, D tackles. That's where they went heavy in this draft, the Buffalo Bills did. I still think the Bills are without a true number one reliable pass catcher, and I think that's why the Baltimore Ravens win this game. But I watched Hard Knocks, the first couple episodes. I love Josh Allen, man. I want him to win a Super Bowl. I just think the Ravens are the better team. I'm going with the Ravens, 34-28. Minnesota versus Chicago. All reports coming out of Minnesota is J.J. McCarthy does not look awesome. It's going to hold this team back. It's going to make them one-dimensional, and that's why I'm going to go with the Bears. I'm switching. Ben Johnson, I think, does just enough to get a win here. I'm going 2016 Chicago Bears. It's going to be a field goal game. Lots of field goals. Jordan Addison is suspended the first 3 games of the year, so Minnesota's really going to miss that compliment to Justin Jefferson, right? I just think that, if I'm the Bears, I'm rotating my coverages to double cover and spy on Justin Jefferson the whole game and making J.J. McCarthy beat me with somebody not named Justin Jefferson, right? It's going to be hard to deal with, but I think the Bears get it done. What did I say? 20-16. The Bears get it done. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out my Survivor pool. Check out my memberships. You guys are the best. 2.5 weeks till kickoff. Let's go! Peace.